All right, welcome everybody. This is day 2 of the What School Could Be sprint with the Center for Next Generation Leadership Academy out of UK. So this one is blending the high school and college experience. So thank you all for joining us. Today we have, we didn't have our intro slides in here. So real quick, let you know I'm Ben Sheridan. Happy to be here with you all. I'm joining from Bangkok. And we have Justin Bathon, who's here for me. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Justin, real quick.
Righto, I'm Justin. I'm a professor at the University of Kentucky. And for today's purposes, co-designer of the UK University of Kentucky's dual credit model with Neomia Hagans-Flores, and Dr. Katie Paulin, who's actually in the room, is one of our instructors. So that's the most relevant part of what I do for today.
Cool. Neomia, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Neomia Hagans-Flores. I'm the director of dual credit at the University of Kentucky, as well as an associate director at the Center for Next Generation Leadership. Really excited to be talking to you guys about something that, Justin and I chat about daily and just get really excited about, and that is what this looks like and what it could be in our spaces, in our high school and college spaces. So really excited to chat with you guys.
Thank you. Literally all right, so dual credit finance yesterday. We were literally working on dual credit finance yesterday for real in our space. So like it is an everyday thing for us.
Yeah, that's why it's so exciting. So as you can tell, like they're the perfect people for this sprint, because I think I got excited more than I ever thought I could be after talking with you about this topic just in the first time. So let's talk a little bit about the format of our sprint. And most of you had joined before, so we don't spend too much time on this, but these are participatory. So we want to hear from you. It's very important that you share your thoughts, your thinking, questions, comments, etc. So we have a small group today, so please feel free to unmute and speak when appropriate. But when you're not speaking, please keep your mic muted so we don't hear any dogs barking or babies crying or construction noises or whatever it might be. Since we are going to be talking and engaging in dialogue, let's use a supportive dialogue and use like a yes and approach. We want to encourage different thinking, but do so in a respectful manner. All our resources are shared, so we offer them to you, and please share them freely. So, whatever we share with you, feel free to share on. We'll share a Padlet with you in just a second. And this is the second of 2 90-minute sessions. And if you're watching this later, the other session has also been recorded. And so you'll be able to find both those, this and the first one. So today, our outcomes are going to be, let's look at distinguishing between various existing forms of college in high school models and the benefits and challenges of each of those. We're also going to identify and visualize solutions to equity of access challenges in the current dual credit landscape, and find at least one previously unknown model of college and high school that intrigues you and that you want to know more about. And this is sort of very, very interesting and personal for me. And so we're also going to identify how might we question for your own school context in developing greater access to college in high school. All right. So today's flow, how are we going to accomplish that? So first, we're going to look at structural opportunities for innovation and examples. Then we're going to jump into an activity of exploring large university models. And then we'll look a little bit more about innovative school models. And then we'll do another activity, choosing the structure of our ideal models. And then we'll look at the choices at UK. And then sort of some closing and some next steps. All right. So let me see. Here we go. All right. Yes. Justin, do you have that link to the Padlet you can drop in the chat real quick, please? So if you want to scan this on your phone, sometimes people like to join the Padlet on their phone. Justin's dropping the link in the chat as well. So join it however you feel most comfortable. But all the resources from today's session, as well as sort of our back channel, will happen on the Padlet. So there is a Padlet icebreaker question. So let's see if I hop over there. You can see my Padlet here. If you look over here, day 2 icebreaker. So choose one. And if you're feeling extra special, you can actually answer both. They're kind of related. They're similar. Share a fun fact most people don't know about you, or reveal a hidden talent not many people may know about you. So we'll give everybody a sec to join that Padlet and see what people's hidden talents are. And since everybody's on the Padlet, I'm going to stop sharing so I can pull up that Padlet and type myself. All right. This is always fun because you always kind of get to know people. Even people you think you know pretty well, you always learn some crazy fact about them. A cake decorator. That's like so many people's dream job, I think. At least my kids, that was probably their dream job right now. Or at least some point in their kid. You know, they watch the Great British Bake Off. I don't know if you're a fan of that show. They love it. Yeah. I have read over 100 romance novels. That is amazing.
Love them.
I don't think I've read a... Sorry, go ahead.
I'm addicted to them. I love romance novels. Like since I've been a teenager, it's absolutely terrible. I mean, you learn.
Can you give us like
vocabulary is great after you read romance.
That's what I would say. Like, give us some of the best titles. I mean, you know, there's got to be good.
I don't. Anything Nora Roberts is like.
Okay.
I love me some Nora Roberts. The Bridgerton, that whole series is actually really good. Those were my last ones I read. But yeah, they're all really awesome. I love them. If you just want to escape for a while, don't go into question or critique. You won't enjoy it. Just go in and just let it flow over you.
That is amazing. All right, I just added one. We have another one who's got a twin. Who has a twin? April, is that you?
I do. Yes.
Is it like fraternal or identical or?
Identical.
Yeah. Wow, yeah. That's amazing. Did you guys ever play like the whole thing? Like, did you play tricks when you were young to try to trick people or anything like any mischievous things like that?
Of course I did.
That's what I'd like to hear. That's amazing. That's awesome. All right.
I didn't know that about you either, April. We went through an entire years of program together. So did not know.
Justin, your first job was, oh, sorry, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
I would say it's funny. I used to get a phone call and say, were you at Kroger? I'm like, no. Well, someone looks just like you. They didn't say hi. And I thought that was rude.
That's so funny. I have a twin story where I was talking to someone who I thought was someone else because that was their twin. And I didn't know they had a twin. And I'm talking away and they're looking at me like kind of like awkward. I'm sure it happened before and they were kind of nice about it. And I was like, that was really weird. I don't know why that just happened. And then I found out like literally the next day it was their twin. So Justin, I see your first job was janitor.
Yep, for real.
Yep.
SIUE. That's the place where I went first, outside of St. Louis. And, I'm a first generation college student also, and they shared that for herself last time. And so my family didn't have any idea how to do college. All my parents knew is like, you work. And so like, it was really important to them that I was working the whole time.
I think we could probably tell that about you, Justin, because you are like one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. So, and I think you're like that Midwestern farm person. Like you can pick those people out because they just work. They work. They put all of us to shame. All right. Someone else had a really cool one. They live in a town of 600 people. Who's that?
Yeah,
definitely not Chris. Janelle.
Chickens and goats. I just assume it's got to be you, Janelle.
I am rural strong out here.
That's amazing. I live in a city of 12 million, so I can't relate. But I do see chickens occasionally and other wild things running down the street. So I guess we share that.
Janelle, the real question is, do you ride your tractor to school? That's
They always say, Miss Field, where's your tractor? I said, I only have a little lawn tractor. That's all I come up with.
That's amazing. All right. Well, I think I put mine on there. Most people don't know that I actually rode my bike across Cuba with two of my buddies. We went to Mexico and crossed into Cuba from Cancun and jumped on our bikes and spent a month riding from Havana to Santiago, and then took the train back. And then 15 years later, one of the same guys and myself rode our bikes around the island of Iceland as like a little sort of remembrance thing. So weren't as young, but it was still as just as fun. And the weather was a bit different as well. So, all right, enough about that. That's a good icebreaker. Thanks everybody for sharing. It's great to learn a little bit more about you. We have some exciting content today. Justin spent a lot of time and Neomia has spent a lot of time preparing for this sprint. So if I forget to thank them at the end, I just wanted to thank them at the beginning. Thanks so much for all your work on this. I think I've learned a lot. Like I said, it's a super interesting topic that after talking with Justin, I became super mega interested in because I have a son who's actually a sophomore in high school. So Justin, let me turn it over to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. We'll sort of start there. So the reward for the hard work on day one of research, I'm sorry, I just have to put some research on things, is that today it's much more of just a play day. And so I want to show you some cool things out there that I've been sort of intrigued by along the way. We're going to answer some of the questions that emerged on Tuesday of things that you were curious about. Like, how do we get more teachers dual credit certified? Well, let me tell you about Indiana. And so we will sort of work our way through some different things that are going on across the country. That's all sort of fun. Then if we're doing well, maybe we will begin to design a bit our own ideal version. And if we design our own ideal version for a few minutes, then Nate and I will share, here's what we designed at UK. And so, that's sort of the broad thinking around the day. Does that sound okay? I mean, we can do more research, but I'm guessing probably you're good. I've got a couple of little bits of research in there. I'm not lying. Of course I do, but we won't dwell on it. All right. So I'll share, and where I want to start is big flagship universities, because the University of Kentucky is a big flagship state university. And so I particularly have to spend a lot of time really trying to make sense of this space for the University of Kentucky. And it is something that really has been a fascinating learning journey for myself. And so I'm excited to share with you some of what's been out there. And I will randomly, and Nay's she's smiling right now because she knows that I will find things and then I will randomly text her in the middle of the night and be like, "Ooh, look what Washington's doing." And so, sorry in advance, but I'm going to give you a taste, and then I'm going to give you my own. What we're going to do is we're just going to look at a spreadsheet where I track all of this stuff. And then you can sort of scroll through and look around and see some things that might be interesting to you that are happening at other big university kinds of spaces. Let's start with the big university that makes all of the waves in the world these days, which is Arizona State University. So Arizona State is, at this point, I think the largest public university. I don't know, Ohio State sometimes is close to them. But they are at 100,000 students plus. To give you an idea, the University of Kentucky is a pretty big state flagship school, and we're at 30,000 students. And so Arizona State is, and I think they're actually way above that now. So I don't know, someone could check out their Wikipedia page. They might be at 120,000 students. They're big. They are willing to try many things, like public education in general in Arizona is sort of the wild, wild west. And so they totally embrace that. And so, but Arizona also is weird in that it only has 3 big public universities, the University of Arizona, Arizona State, and Northern Arizona University. And so different kinds of missions out there. But I want to tell you about EdPrep Digital. So ASU EdPrep Digital is their online high school. So ASU actually they run many high schools themselves, about 8-9 different high school locations in Arizona. These are, of course, using charter structures to do that job. But the one that's really interesting for all of planet Earth is EdPrep Digital, because you can see inside of that online high school, they just embed their online university courses. Why would you not once you start running an online high school, it's easy enough to just embed into it the online college courses. In this case, I guess you might still call this dual credit, but there's not really two different institutions. There's a single institution that's doing both jobs. So, it's a different way to sort of think about the problem. Now, not every state is here, right? Like for us at the University of Kentucky, we're not trying to take over high school. However, you're going to be shocked by how many big flagship universities are beginning to run some of their own high school spaces. So you can see that they can take those courses while in high school. But let me give you a sense of the price. Okay. And this is, I think, for you, Chris, in particular, like this is one I was trying to tell Ben, like this works globally. And so here are the prices for to go to ASU's online schools, Ed Prep Digital. And you can see sort of in that grades 9 through 12, the full-time tuition includes the option to take up to 4 ASU courses per year. And then you can sort of see how they're pricing that in terms of what the tuition is annually, and then what it is per ASU course. So now start doing the math in your head. Like, what would 4 courses normally cost at a state flagship university? About that price. So you're sort of getting high school for free and paying for the courses you would otherwise be paying for. And so the ability to begin to just merge these two spaces together sort of for one low price is that's interesting to me. And it's interesting to me partly because a student in Beijing could do this. Like, Chris, what are your thoughts about Ed Prep Digital? Since you're the one in Beijing, the kids are going to school online right now anyway.
Yeah. When we were in California, we were stuck there. I mean, it was nice being with family and everything, but we were stuck there for 5 or 6 months waiting for our visa. And if we had known we were going to be there for that long, we would have put them in an online charter school. But like 2 or 3 months in, I started looking, and there were dozens online options for charter schools that had all kind of come up from, I guess, COVID demand.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting, Justin, is that if the price is a quarter or a third of a typical international school, and you're developing a pathway into college. I mean, people send their kids. This is what's super interesting to me is, like you'll probably talk about Stanford online in high school. If you ask an international school parent, why are you sending your kid to an international school? They'll say, so they can get into Stanford. And you're like, well, would you pay the same amount to send your kid to Stanford right now? Because they could access it in an online, high school format. Their answer might be yes, if they're gonna, and then they have this pathway right into college. So it's super interesting to me if you look at the economics from that point of view.
Yeah. The economics of this make it really, really interesting because it is a viable economic choice right now. And you can see grades 9 through 12, they're offering 4 courses per year. That's no small number of college courses that you can get done while a kid would have normally been in high school, and you're getting them from a flagship recognized global university. This is not Southern New Hampshire or the University of Phoenix. Now, obviously ASU is taking these things pretty far, and so at some point maybe we do start to question what's going on. But it is it's an interesting development that we're certainly watching. Now, again, like this is being recorded, so the University of Kentucky's position is that we're not interested in running our own high schools, but it is just a really fascinating development. There's many more like this. As Ben said, in the Padlet, I've got Stanford's online high school linked up. And so that exact question that Ben just posed, which is like, why, if I'm going to send my kid to an expensive private school, why not just send them to Stanford? So, for you, Janelle, too, in rural areas that don't have a lot of access to traditional colleges, the four-year flagship kinds of spaces. I mean, I'm assuming you're pretty far away from the Twin Cities and it's not easy to drive to the flagship. So like, here's a flagship university at a reasonable price. Yeah, interesting, right? We're just going to play and have fun today. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Here's the next one. This is George Washington University's online high school with dual credit embedded. And this one is interesting to me because you can see where the little arrow points, powered by K-12 Inc. So if you're familiar with online learning, K-12 Inc. is one of the really, really big players in this space. It's such a big player now that they've got a new corporate name called Stride, and you can see Stride down there. They have corporate earnings reports. It's for profit. And so you have a for-profit online learning shop working with a nonprofit sort of public-facing university in George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And essentially the university is giving this dual credit online high school space over to the private company to run. And this is a university you've heard of, right? George Washington University. This is not a university that this is one that you would think. My sister went to George Washington University for her master's when she lived in DC in the Navy. And so but this is a really interesting development in the space, which is one of the things about the space is it's so complicated that a university is making the decision to just pass it over to a corporate operator to operate the space. Reasonable prices there too. So for all the same things that apply to Arizona State sort of would apply in this same space as well. And of course, a global sort of nature to that effort. Okay, let's switch gears. Unless anyone wants to unpack that corporate stuff a little bit more, there's not a lot of that. That is, for now, that is a sort of a one-off example, but it does show what's possible in the space. And that relationship has been in place now for several years, so it's not like it's a brand new relationship that's just been announced. They've been doing, those two, the university and the corporation, have been in cahoots on this space since about 2011. All right, here's a different one. Auburn, another big state flagship university, Auburn First. They just recently launched Auburn First a couple of years ago. And at the same time that we were launching ours at the University of Kentucky. So it's not massive. You can see 615 students enrolled. That's about where we are, which is a pretty small dual credit program overall, actually. What's interesting is the very bottom of this slide, and I just copied and pasted it there. I'll explain it, but I wanted you to see the actual policy sort of pasted if you're able to see the screen. What's really interesting is if you start this dual credit program, and it's a bit more expensive and a bit more exclusive, right? So they're not taking the open door approach that we are at UK, but a bit more exclusive, a bit more expensive. But if you start it and you maintain a 3.0 GPA across 2 semesters of your dual credit program, automatic acceptance to the university. So dual credit is becoming the entry door into the admissions policy for the university. And I think that's genius. Why not, actually? This is a thing that I really hope at some point the University of Kentucky will be willing to get into. But I'm telling you all this because you should ask your college, why not? Here's what they have. They have actual proof of how the kids are going to do in their courses. They have student data in their learning management system. They can see how quickly did students complete their work? Were they behind on assignments? They have way more data about these kids than they would ever have. We, higher ed, does, because they're actually taking our courses in this trial period. And so during the trial period, if they do well, why would you not just admit them automatically? And so kudos to Auburn for getting into this sort of automatic admission thing. Now, like I said, they're still being pretty exclusive, still being pretty expensive. And so this is not like a mass open the door policy, but it is an interesting step, I think. Anyone else know of any of these automatic admissions clauses that are living in the dual credit world out there? No? Okay. Well,
It's
I like
for
it.
Australia, but
There are
had
some
students
for
do
in the
that. Yeah.
Okay, lovely. Yeah, excellent, Chris. I'll have to go do some research on that. At one point, I got really into the University of Tasmania. They had a job that was so interesting to me that like I literally considered moving halfway across the world because they viewed themselves as they are an island, of course, and they're like, we literally can't lose a single kid. Every kid needs to be successful on this island for us to be successful, which I think is just a marvelous way of thinking about what the reality is. I wish American states would take that same mentality. Like we literally can't lose a kid in the state of Kentucky. We need them all to be successful. And there was the job was to be in charge of that. So I got into Australian universities just for a moment there with the University of Tasmania. So I'll have to go dive back in, Chris, into that space with dual credit. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Nay's happy because now I'm going to send her all kinds of Australian university things.
I'm going to have to pull them back from Tasmania again. So,
okay, one more big share on the flagship side, and then we'll get out into activity. Indiana University. This is maybe one of my favorites. I have several favorites, but one of my favorites is Indiana University. It is an alma mater for me, so I'm particularly fond of this one. But when it comes to this space, they're doing it at a scale that really no one else is doing it. So you can see that Indiana University as a whole, now this is a system, so there's multiple campus locations, like the University of Minnesota from Janelle's standpoint, where there's multiple University of Minnesotas around the state. Still, across those different institutions, almost 20,000 kids per year in the dual credit program, and tons of high school teachers partnering up with almost 300 schools. For us, just to give you a sense, we currently have 16 dual credit partner high schools in Kentucky, and that feels like a lot. And so 292 high school partners seems like an unbelievable number of high schools to be partnered with simultaneously. So that's, and this whole thing is called Advanced College. It's been going for a long time, like 20 years. Here's what's hyper fascinating about Indiana, though, to the question that someone left us on Tuesday, which is like, how do we deal with the dual credit teacher certification thing? This is the model I think we should all be beginning to investigate. So they are working with lots of high school teachers, 834. What's interesting, though, is that Indiana University is also the primary graduate degree provider in the state of Indiana. So they're simultaneously controlling both the dual credit space and the graduate degree space. And what we need is more teachers, high school teachers, with the graduate credentials in order to teach in the dual credit space. And so, like all big flagship universities, the University of Kentucky is the same. Like we have both. So why not merge the spaces together and offer scholarships to the high school teachers in the high schools to take the graduate credits they need to then turn right back around and begin teaching the Indiana University dual credit classes back into the high schools. And so you can see, like, look in that middle space, free IU graduate courses and graduate degree programs. So for those instructors that need additional graduate courses and graduate degrees in order to meet the faculty requirements, they can apply to be a part of the IU dual credit pipeline program and then get free graduate tuition. To this big problem that we have of how to spread this in a way that's equitable, like this, there's an actual solution to that problem that's underway in Indiana. There is legislative funding to support it. So this is a statewide priority, but it is, that's how you can grow this to do the 20,000 students in the dual credit program with 300 school partners. So that's, we love that particular model. Okay. I want you to go check some more out. So over in the Padlet, I'm going to stop share. So this is an Airtable where I track all of this stuff. I'm going to stop share for a second and then give you guys in the Padlet is a link to go check out that Airtable. And in that Airtable, there is sort of who's doing what and the name of the program, who's running the program, where the program lives at the university, because that's actually one of the reasons you're seeing my data is like, I have big questions about where the dual credit program lives inside of the University of Kentucky. And you'll see that there's no one single approach. There's many different approaches to where does it live inside the institutional structure. But then there's links and, interestingly, the tuition. And so you can go over and see what all of this is costing at all the different places. So Padlet link, it's in red. Click this Airtable link. Is that working for folks? Everyone know where we're at? Okay, awesome. So give you a few minutes to sort of explore that. And then I'd love to like have some sort of discussion around what's going on in flagship spaces.
Hey, Justin, maybe we can chat while everybody's looking, because I have some sort of questions I've been thinking about. So while everybody sort of takes a look, maybe they can listen or put us on mute. So, I've been talking with people about this, this week, and a lot of people, the first question they have is, oh, so what's, because, in my setting, or even, Chris's setting, like, typically our kids would have to do this in an online fashion. They couldn't do like a dual credit, like in-person situation right now. So their next question is, oh, so what's the difference between that and just any online high school situation? So how would you articulate the difference of a sort of like a dual credit situation, high school, like Stanford, I guess, because that has a dual credit component built in, versus like something, Chris mentioned earlier, like Dwight Global, which is like an IB sort of focus thing, which I think is trying to replicate and I could be wrong, but I think it's trying to replicate the high school IB experience that many families understand.
Yeah, and there's even more variations. There's some variations where the university, like the University of Texas, runs an online high school, but does not embed dual credit. So that's another sort of variation of what to do. But when you're the institution that controls both things, I think it just makes complete sense. Like it's going to be hard for the University of Texas to not mix in dual credit eventually into that space. Because ultimately, I think the higher education credentials are the more valuable credentials in the market. And so while the IB program is globally recognized and like it's, it is a really strong credential, like it's not the sort of college credit.
But it's in service of a college. It's in service of getting in a college. Like realistically, most, if a kid, they want the IB results so they can get into the college that they want to go to. So I see I don't know. I see the sort of like this dual credit option as almost like a short circuit or a stronger pathway than rolling the dice with an IB. Like if you can, because you're already to the next step, you're already being recognized by the thing you want to be recognized by, right?
Ben, this is the same kind of argument that folks are having in schools about, do we do AP course dual credit courses? So there's that tension there as to what is best for each child. What is the quality of each in comparison to others? What are colleges accepting and what are they not accepting when it comes to dual credit? AP courses? And the answer is there's no really clean answer, and it's really individualized for each student as to what they're wanting to do. The path starts with where does the student want to go and what do those institutions require, and then you build either dual credit, AP, or IB around what that student needs. So it's really, really individualized.
Right.
But the big question you ask is what's the difference? The difference is a digital high school is high school. A digital high school that is focusing on dual credit is really a college experience. That's the difference. One is preparing you for college, the other is college.
Okay, that's a
Yeah,
thank you.
that's great because, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Janelle.
No, I'm just trying to figure that out too, because I look at our students, just what you're saying, is that we have the students taking the PSEO just to take classes that they won't need to take when they enter the college. We have the AP, but now the way, Justin, you're bringing this, and you both are bringing this in, like they could actually take that online that gives them both the college. I mean, they're still getting high school and college, right? At that same time. So they're meeting the requirements of what, like Minnesota has requirement for a high school graduation, but then they're pulling this college then into it. Am I understanding this correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
it
and so
seems
what's
like
possible,
yeah.
what's possible, Janelle, is to rethink how the high school is building itself. You can build yourself for AP, build yourself for IB, or you can just straight build yourself for college now. And I think it's a fully new choice that's available on the table. And we'll look at a couple of high school models in a second that are doing that. But if you're building a new high school from scratch today, and we got to do that a few years ago, it was an easy choice. We didn't build for AP or IB. We built for college.
Any other questions folks want to throw out there, or things that they're pondering right now while they're looking at this list?
It's not really a question, but I'm thinking about here in Louisville, where we have the Academies of Louisville. And the focus is not so much on college, but on getting those kids when they graduate to have certifications. And that's already been such, I don't want to say a stressful experience, but to make sure that the kids have all of the credits to meet the certification and the high school graduation, and then to throw this in the mix might be a challenge or a hard sell for some people.
I think sometimes it goes back to making sure that students have necessarily what they need. I don't think that the way that most dual credit programs in Kentucky are designed, most of them aren't designed as early colleges. Most of them are designed as dual credit programs in which students can explore those kind of options. So it's not necessarily they have a super strict program that they have to follow and that these are the courses that they have to take. Most schools are approaching it as what courses can we fit into what students are doing, or what overlaps with the current things that we already are offering in the building. So like looking at English credits, all of our students already are having to take English. So can we just have them to take dual credit English in their junior and senior year versus taking our regular English course or our honors or our AP English course? They're already taking calculus. Can we go ahead and put the college level calculus or chemistry or history courses, even health and PE? We can do health and PE as a dual credit course for students. So I think the goal is not to necessarily think of it as this extra thing, but what can we do to bolster what we're currently doing to offer more opportunities for these students, and honestly for teachers as well, to grow professionally and to challenge themselves and to do something new as well. I hope I answered your question, did it, or your pondering? Okay.
And April, our very first applicant from Jefferson County to be a part of our UK Next Gen Scholars Dual Credit Program is now in the hopper. We're going to go visit in Right after the new
Monday.
year, we're going to do our site visit. So,
We're going to Wagner on Monday.
oh, Monday. Okay, never mind. We're going to Wagner on Monday. Sorry. Yeah.
So there,
Okay.
we have a couple other people who haven't spoken yet. So like
Yeah, jump
Paul
in.
or Ty, do you guys have anything you want to share? Any thoughts? Katie? No? Okay. Just want to give you an opportunity.
No, I got distracted. I was looking at the list and it's really interesting. Two of my graduate institutions run their own high schools. And I quickly Googled them to be like, do they even have dual credit? One of them doesn't look like it, they do. And the other one runs it through the community college. So I'm like, missed opportunities right there.
Yeah.
But
It's all over the place. It's all over the place. And I mean, I love that about this space because to an innovator, that is like free range. But you know, like it is weird that like you're going to put the effort in to run the high school and then run the dual credit through the community college. But yeah, you see that. Yeah, there's just many different variations. What was the undergrad places? Or the places you were looking at, Katie? Because I'm curious myself, and since you're invested in our UK dual credit program, like I always wanted to learn more.
oh, I was just looking at Illinois State has U-High, and that they're the one. It looks like they run it through Heartland Community College.
Yeah, because Illinois has made a choice, and we're going to see it in just a slide, where the state is making the choice to keep the 4 years out of the dual credit space. So they're essentially, the state of Illinois is essentially giving the entire dual credit space exclusively to community colleges.
Gotcha. Yeah, the other one was SLU High, St. Louis University.
Oh, yeah.
And they're private, and I can't find anything on their website. So I'm assuming they maybe don't offer it, but you know, it may just be something they're not advertising.
Yeah. Yeah, both of those two places, since Katie and I grew up in not far away places from each other, have leftover university laboratory high schools. Now, SLU wouldn't call theirs a lab high school. It's a Catholic high school that's tightly connected to the Catholic University, St. Louis University. But like universities have been in the operating high schools business for a long time. This is just the new sort of versions of the universities operating high schools spaces, except that increasingly geography is not a variable. So you don't have to live close to go. And that's a really interesting new phenomena. Okay. Fun. You can see I have fun with the list. There's nothing about that list that's scientific. And, you know, I'm supposed to be the research guy. So like, this is just my own perusing of the space. I did the SEC and the Big Ten, but you can see the others of note at the bottom all have dual credit. There's a lot of places I look at that didn't have dual credit. I didn't put them on the list. So this doesn't represent like everybody's doing it. There's a lot of places that are not for different reasons, like you saw with the University of Illinois and Northwestern University, where the four-year universities are essentially being excluded from the space. The private universities like Vanderbilt have just made a choice not to participate. So it's sort of all over the place with the flagships.
I am just surprised with we have nobody, this University of Minnesota one. I mean, I'm from Minnesota here, and we have 0 students taking this through. Nobody, and it's 0 cost.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite programs in the country, the college and high school program at the University of Minnesota. And so that's when I asked you on day one, I'm like, are you guys participating?
No. Okay.
I know, but we're still facing massive scaling challenges. So even with Indiana, who scaled this to a place that nobody's, like they're one of the largest scaling, and Hawaii, Susanna talked about Hawaii. So I've checked out Hawaii. Hawaii has scaled pretty well. You're still not reaching all high schools or all kids. And that's a really interesting part of this equation, which is like, this is still an exclusive thing. If this high school has figured it out and made the right partnership, those kids get access. And the high school next door may have different leadership, not figured it out and not gotten access. that's my own personal story in this space. When I was a kid, in high school, my wife's high school and community college district, which was right next to mine. We grew up 2 high schools apart. And of course, I fell in love with my wife in high school. And so like, I wanted to know what she was doing. Her community college opened the door to dual credit and sort of college and high school early. My wife took advantage. This was in the early days. There wasn't very many rules. So my wife just did the entire associate's degree while in high school, essentially. And like, we're the same age. And suddenly she's 2 years ahead of me. And so, and that's for no reason that one school did something that a school next door literally didn't do. And I'm, you know, ultimately in love with this woman. And like, it had a massive impact in our life. And so, you know, this is what's possible right now in terms of what we could be doing as education leaders. Okay.
Chris,
Yeah,
that's
I told you we just play and have some fun today.
Yeah,
Go
Chris,
ahead,
that's
Nick.
a great question. And it's wild, wild west out there. So depending upon the school and the institution is where it's at. So you have to really do some deep diving, and we may, Justin, there may need to be another column added to this table about do they serve international schools or not. Into that, because as of right now, most state schools are not going international. But I don't know if many international schools are approaching either colleges and universities to say, hey, maybe we want to do this thing.
Yeah, Chris, we should follow up together on this because it's like, as I mentioned earlier, like this is super interesting to me, especially when you look at the online high school option. Yeah.
So the one to mention in that space, Chris, is what the University of Arizona is doing, which is the University of Arizona, not Arizona State, the other one. Arizona has built a model exclusively for international students, as in domestic students cannot go. So they're seeing what's the University of Arizona is seeing your world, Chris and Ben, of international schools. And they're like, yes, please, we want those kids. And so they've built a model exclusively for enrolling international high school students at the University of Arizona Academy. So just to give you another variation of it. So yes, some are built with international in mind.
And here's the rub, sorry, is so my son's American. He has a US passport, but he lives internationally. So he's not an he wouldn't be an international student because he has a US passport, but you know, he's grown up overseas. So that's like, I saw that and I got super interested in it, and it's on my list of like really need to explore what they mean by international. Do they mean residence or passport? Because that's a big thing, like where like in our world, Chris and I world, like passport, I mean, it gets very, very confusing because depending on, you know, kids have, you know, a Belgian mom and a French dad, and they've never lived in either country. And, you know, they may have, you know, maybe they were born in the States, so they have a US passport, but, you know, so it gets super interesting. Anyways.
Okay, team, we have been playing and seeing all kinds of amazing models that are out there, but relative to all of that context, I want us to sort of keep in mind that all of this interesting stuff that's happening is not the majority of what's happening. So this is Kentucky's data. You'd see similar data in most states, where the public universities, the four-year universities, are serving only about half of the student population that the community colleges are serving. So the community colleges are still the vast dominant player in the world of dual credit. And so this is research from the Hanover Research Group from a few years ago now, but at that time, they were citing that 70% of students that were taking dual enrollment were doing that with a community college and not a four-year institution. And that's where I put the state of Illinois, because like there are some states that have really made the choice that this is a community college job and not a four-year institution job. And even in our own state policy framework, Neoma can tell you, we go to state policy meetings about what should dual credit look like in this state. There is a heavy lean toward dual credit should be a community college thing. And so Like that's still the dominant partner that's available out there. What I would say about that space is those two-year institutions are all doing this on near zero budget. So where you see Arizona State being really aggressive and trying to recruit kids globally, and Arizona building cool programs and online high schools from Stanford, and like those things are resourced in a way that none of these community college things are resourced. And so what you see as the predominant model of dual credit is the traditional model of dual credit, which is you have to use the high school teacher as the instructor because community colleges can't really afford to do this. And so for the most part, they're having to offset the cost into the P12 system to try to cover the cost of doing dual credit. So we've had fun and we've played, but I want to bring us back to sort of this reality of like community college is still the dominant thing here. And if you're really paying close attention to the data, I said in the first recording, the future of community colleges in high school, I think that's what's happening. Like there's a bunch of four-year interesting things that you can play with. And if you're an innovative school leader, you can make great partnerships happen right now. But if you're not doing that, the community colleges are increasingly trying to get into your space. Like there's a captive audience that, you know, compulsory attendance. And so we can keep our enrollments going by essentially using the captive audience that's in the high schools. So while 4 years are off trying lots of interesting things, and we'll share ours in a minute here, there's this long-term general trend of more and more of community college being in high school. So, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm a community college kid myself. Remember, like my family didn't have any money. Community college is what we could do. And so I'm not against it, but it certainly is not the kind of like really tight, intentional design, well-resourced, all the things you might hope for. That's not what we're seeing in that space. All right. So, yeah. I got some more innovative models I can show you. We can talk more about our choices at UK. We can sort of see what all of your choices would be. I'd be super curious about what your choices would be. You want to try that next? There's more videos in here.
Just to explain a little more, like if you were to design, okay, we're starting a school. This is our dream school. And we're going to do our dream high school. So they would, I'm just trying to, they would get the high school things that they need, but would they then graduate from that school with a accredited something, or would they?
Yeah. I think those are open questions right now, Janelle, and that's why this space is so interesting to me. And I don't think it's getting nearly enough love and attention in even like the What School Could Be space that we know and love, and many of you joined through the What School Could Be community, who's really interested in what the future of school looks like. We're not paying nearly enough attention to everything. There's a whole bunch of effort about preparation for college or career, and not nearly enough thinking about straight up integration of college and career into the model. And that I think is the most logical choice for me, is just integrate the spaces. But that does have consequences for like, so what is the end credential? In like, so Texas and a P-Tech school, have you guys heard of P-Tech? P-Tech is a very new, it's only about 10 years old model, but now has 300 schools globally. So like you can make choices over, I put a link over to where like I put a bunch of pull downs. So like you just add your name and you can just pick your model, and hopefully that is working. Make sure it's all shared properly. Anyone with the link can edit, good. So while you guys are popping in, and just add your name, and like, what would you, like if you had to dream, and Janelle just said, like if you had to dream and build one from scratch right now, like there's some basic questions. Whose calendar would control? That's a surprisingly first important question. By calendar control, you're really saying who is the dominant institution here? And that's so I put that question first because like, you really got to decide who's running this. Anyway, okay, so you can play and sort of make your choices about what your model might look like. Just grab a row. While we're doing that, I'll pull up PTech. PTech is a really intentional design. So if you're in the What School Could Be world, you know that there are school networks out there like Expeditionary Learning, like New Tech Network, like Summit Learning, that are like, you know, you sign on to be part of a network, and then with that comes a package of like how to run school. So PTech's one of those where when you sign up to be a PTech school, you sign up as, I'm going to run school this way. And so PTech is 2011 is when they started in New York City. IBM was the sort of designer and investor in this. Now, though, you can see just in the United States, there's over 200 school partners in the last 10 years. And globally, they are at about 300 different school partner sites. This is an extended high school model, which says we're going to design a 6-year model, not a 4-year high school and a 2-year associates. It is a single integrated 6-year experience. And you're doing college along the way through that 6-year experience, but you're also doing massive internships and workplace learning and apprenticeships. And so like, and they're paid. These are paid apprenticeships. So the kids are actually getting paid during this period of time. And so they're real authentic work that's happening, college is happening, and high school is happening all simultaneously in a 6-year model instead of a 4-year plus 2-year or 4-year plus 4-year or whatever kind of model. And you can see, I put down there, sponsored by the Australian government, because entire countries are starting to now explore this idea of like, what if we framed the experience not as a 4+2 to get to associates, but simply a 6-year experience that everything ends at associates. Like they're like high school diploma is not hyper relevant in this equation. The end of this is associates. So, and you can see a bunch of industry partners that, of course, the industry partners are excited. They have direct pipelines into their jobs, right? And so they're pretty excited that they have a captive audience too. And so that's why industry, of course, is always happy to fund a lot of this, because they get a lot of control over what the experience looks like. So that's another different way to think about the thing, which is like, let's stop thinking about it as 4 years plus 2 years, or 2 years embedded in the 4 years. We'll just think about it as a 6-year thing where it ends in associates for everybody. Just another one to play with. There's a lot going on right now. And I put videos in the deck if you want to like see the PTech video of how they explain what they're doing in their space. But you know, this is a thing where you got to go explore, learn. You know, ultimately, if you were really in that high school design from scratch moment, then you would go visit and see, right? Like, and now there's lots of places to go visit.
I would say too, the most common question that, you know, Justin and I get a lot of times is, well, what is the best model? What is everybody doing out there? What is the perfect model and best way to do this? And to that, there really isn't an answer, because schools are so different based upon states. Students are so different. The culture of different high schools are so different. It really depends on what you want the outcome to be for your students when you're thinking about it. So if you're thinking about designing or jumping into the dual credit space, it's really important to think about what are the outcomes that your students and families are wanting and seeing for themselves at the end of this journey. And then you have to design and create a program from there, thinking about the resources and putting into context what are the availabilities in the state for and the support for this and what's available in your state. So I think that's part of why you see so many different models and not one prevailing model, is just because it is really a labor of love and individuality.
Maybe I'll share one more, and then Nay, you want to talk about our labor of love a little bit and like how we made choices during this period? Yeah, I want to share just one more interesting one, and there's more in the deck. One thing, for instance, like you should really be thinking about co-location right now. So a lot of the best models that I'm seeing of high school are being co-located on college campuses, particularly community college campuses. In regional universities and community colleges are seeing enrollment declines across the country. And so they have a lot of sort of empty buildings right now. And so there's a lot of opportunity to fill those buildings up with high school kids. And we're seeing a lot of that happening. STEM Chattanooga, for instance, is a great, amazing STEM high school that is on the Chattanooga Community College campus because they had space. So just put it right there, and then the kids can walk over and take some classes. But the one I want to share before we go to our own model is Butler Tech. And let me share, I might even do maybe a quick bit of video on this one. Am I on the right screen? I think I am. So Butler Tech is, this is what would happen, is an example of what would happen if the CTE space, because remember, there's another space here. There is the high school space, there's the college space, and we've been talking about those two spaces exclusively pretty much the whole time. But there's a whole additional space, which is the CTE career technical school kind of space that lives out there. Butler Tech is the model for what happens when the career tech space becomes the dominant space and everything gets integrated into the career tech. So Butler Tech, which is Butler County, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, they have like 4 or 5 different locations across the county, and they do different things. They're training airplane pilots. They are training healthcare workers. They're very career-minded, but inside of being career-minded, they are integrating both high school and college sort of secondarily. So the career drives everything, but then college and high school come behind the career. So quick clip, hopefully it starts at the right place.
I chose to come to Butler Tech because
we don't see
I
it,
wanted
Justin.
to
We're
get a
seeing
head
like
start into.
Oh, the wrong
we
one.
don't see a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're seeing my data. I thought I might be sharing the wrong screen.
We're seeing CPE, higher ed, like a static page, sign up. Yeah.
Of course. I always want to check out my data.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
All right, thank you.
All right. So, and let me see if I can get to options real fast, because I thought I had this thing starting at a, okay, I did not.
I chose to come to Butler Tech because.
Come on, go.
I chose to come to Butler Tech because I wanted to get a head start into the medical field I want to go into. My little brother was born premature. And I started, like, when we started going to hospitals and all that, I started putting my attention to where I wanted to be a NICU nurse.
I wanted something from a school that I didn't get from my home school. I wanted a different personal experience with teachers, and I wanted a challenge.
Helping people makes me happy. With athletic training, like, if you help someone get back from an injury, then you know they're happy to be playing what they love again. So this program, Exercise Science, is for me.
I have a brother who has special needs, and he was born whenever I was 6 years old. So from the age of 6, I've been learning how to work feeding machines and put in NG tubes. So that's always made me have a passion for the healthcare field.
To get a different taste of what kind of jobs are out there for me, and the dental program really interested me. So I went ahead and went that route, and it's just been life-changing ever since.
I go to my home school and I ride the bus from there to D. Russell Lee. And then from D. Russell Lee, there's another bus that takes me here.
I go to my academic classes first, and typically I only have 1 or 2 classes every day.
And then I start off by coming to the lab every day. We do work, take notes, and then we work out for 30 minutes a day.
After all the academics, we would go to our lab, whatever field. So mine is dental, obviously. Just it's more kind of like a college experience.
What's CCP classes usually earn 3 to 4 credits. It's credits that count as high school credit and college credit.
I'm currently just taking one Butler Tech class and 7 other college courses, including calculus, sociology, trig, stats. When I graduate from Butler Tech, I'll have about 40 to 45 college credit hours.
All right. Sorry, just one more example of how to do this job where you let the careers lead the way and then sort of build school behind it. Anyway, so lots of go. All this is in the Padlet team. Go check it out. Nay, I'll turn it over to you. You want to share, or you want me to share some of like the choices?
Because you share because my screen was acting really weird the other day.
All right. Yeah, so we'll just share a few of our choices and give you a sense of what we try to do. But like, this is not the right way. This is what we were capable of doing at the moment. So Nay, I got a bunch in here. I would say this is a good question that started us on a journey. So you might start there.
Yeah, so I'm going to give a little bit of a background about where Kentucky is, so you can see the factors that we had to think about in this. In Kentucky, the major provider of dual credit is our community colleges and our regional universities. So our Research One, state flagship university, as well as University of Louisville, which is the second largest, we're not playing very deeply in this space. And in addition to that, our state has legislation and dual credit scholarships that it has in place, in which students get from the state, they received 2 free dual credit courses from the state that the state will pay for. And we also, all universities and colleges have to sign an agreement in which we will only charge $92, what is now $92 a credit hour for any dual credit course that our students take in the state. So those are some of the parameters. So people are offering dual credit mainly online. So as an online asynchronous experience, students are going to college campuses that are close to them and taking classes on those campuses, or people are engaging in what we call traditional dual credit, which is the high school certified teachers teaching it in the building. So within that, there are schools and students who aren't receiving dual credit due to their lack of access to a college campus, lack of dual credit certified teachers, or lack of technology or resources. So in our model and NextGen, our role in the state has really been helping to redesign and think about education in the state in terms of deeper learning. So within both of those things, thinking about both those landscapes, it was what if instead of geography, we really could network schools together based upon deeper learning values and ideas, and using dual credit as a platform in order to begin linking and having those schools to work together and have those conversations. So that's what we did. So we approached it from thinking about putting together a network of schools that work together, who annually meet to talk about deeper learning principles, to talk about things that are happening in their schools and in the state, and to provide avenues for each other. And then the dual credit side. And so in NextGen, we have our core principles in 2 hubs, which is our NextGen learning principles and equity of opportunity structure. So we're talking about graduate competencies. So that goes into our profile of graduate, deeper learning pedagogies. So project-based learning and inquiry learning and student agency, which is huge for us, performance assessment. So students showing what they know, as well as providing for a really rich teaching culture among teachers, while also giving paying really close attention to the equity of opportunity structure. So making sure that curriculum is culturally relevant, that students have access and are included in all levels of learning and what they need, making sure that discipline is positive and restorative, and also providing really robust advising and mentoring around the students. So when we talk about deeper learning, this is really what our center focuses on and defines deeper learning as in these hallmarks, anchored by equity and learning principles. So we started in year 1 thinking about our dual credit model, and we approached 4 schools that NextGen had already been working with on the deeper learning side to say, hey, we're thinking about providing dual credit and want to network you guys together so you can work with deeper learning principles. So we approach Marshall, which is all the way on the western side of the state, Paris, which is close to us, around 45 minutes away, Steam, which is in town, and then Elkhorn Crossing, which is about 30 minutes away. So we really wanted to try to think about a model that would work for all students in Kentucky, not just those that are located right near us or in our own town. And so over the years we've grown. So in that, we make sure we have to follow all the requirements set by the state. At that time, it was $72 a credit hour. Now it's at $92 a credit hour. But there's also, in that scholarship, they will not pay for any students to take dual credit that are not juniors or seniors. So our program, we designed it to work with juniors and seniors. There is in the legislation that students have to have a 2.5 GPA, so a 2.5 GPA. But in the legislation, what there's not is an ACT requirement. So we didn't have any ACT requirements upon our student, except for those that are in University Senate in classes like our math courses and things like that. And then we wanted to focus on equity. So we really wanted as many students as possible from all backgrounds taking these courses and opening up that equity of opportunity, removing that opportunity gap so that we could affect that achievement gap that we talked a little bit about yesterday. So these students can take up to 10 courses in our model, which was what was comfortable and what our university was comfortable doing, was offering enough for a student to really have 1 year of college while they were in high school. Well, it's a little bit more than a year if you're only on doing a 12 credit hour experience. But so in that, we already knew that we had a little bit of a problem. So we don't have enough dual credit certified teachers to do this across the state. And we have schools in a whole lot of places. And so what we decided to work on is a collaborative teaching model. And that is where one of our UK faculty zooms into classrooms across the state at the same time synchronously 3 times a week. So on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and deliver instruction to students. So on the surface, that's fine. Students can take that, they can engage in that, and there would be, and we knew in that model, there would be a group of students who would do pretty well and be okay. But what we knew is that we opened that door pretty wide and that there were additional students who would need support. So what we included in that was a collaborating teacher in each of those classrooms, in each of those schools. That teacher does not have to be dual credit certified, but we do require that they have some expertise in the area of the course that they're teaching. So for instance, we've got History 109 up here. So you have a collaborating teacher a faculty who is zooming in on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They work in conjunction with a collaborating teacher to hold discussions, to do support materials and work, to grade assignments and to help to lead assignments. And then on the off day, so, you know, a lot of our courses run 5 days a week versus in the high school versus the 3 days a week that our courses, that our professors are zooming in. So they're there to offer support, scaffolding, doing all those things that the students really need. So in this model, you have students zooming in, getting that cultural collateral and being able to work with a university professor, while at the same time receiving the supports and the knowledge and of the high school teachers who really know best how to motivate students in that atmosphere. And then they're also getting to meet with and work with and collaborate with students from all over the state in that same classroom. So they're also expanding their school experience is expanding beyond those folks who are in their building. And so that's probably one of the coolest parts that I've seen of the model. Is I went and I every year I go and visit classrooms and sit down in the class. And it was really awesome to hear students talking back and forth across the different schools and making comments and joking with each other like they knew each other and they really were going to school together. So that was really, really an awesome thing to see. Justin. So so our schedule changes every year. We offer all of these courses currently. So everything from forestry, what is our comparable English 101 and 102, and what Dr. Paulin teaches, which is our Math 109. Our schedule is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Our schools made the choice that they would rather have the courses taught in the morning so that students could still do their traditional work or internships or whatever they needed to do in the afternoon. And then we also made sure along the way we had to do a lot of integrations. So we have to make sure that we're following accreditation. We have to work with our billing cycle folks to make sure students are getting billed correctly. We have to work with our admissions team. We had to build a whole new application for students to come in. We have to work with institutional research to see the effectiveness of our program, with recruiting, because really the goal of recruiting is they're like, hey, we're doing this model. We want to get these kids here full time on campus. And then also our advising structures at the university and making sure that students have the best of supports from UK as they're going through this. So Justin, can you go? You're right there already. So to date, our results are looking pretty good. So we've had up to 593 unique students in our program. As of 22, there were over almost 3,000 credits, 18 unique courses, collaborating departments in our college, 12 collaborating colleges. We work in 6 different colleges in our university, and our enrollment has grown steadily each year. So this semester, we're looking at having 500 students participating this semester. So we've grown it, but what you really want to know is how successful they are. And this is what students are typically looking like in our model. So overall, we open the door pretty wide and students are really, really coming to play hard. So we have 85 to 95% of our students in our model taking real UK courses with UK faculty, making A's and B's in our courses. And we did an annual report. I'll let Justin, because Justin really loves this report. So, and he's really, really disciplined in himself and not talking right now. So go ahead, Justin, and take away the report.
No, only that because we're a research university, of course, we're going to research it. And so we hired an evaluation center to do a detailed evaluation of the whole thing. And ultimately, are we seeing the same kind of results that we would expect to see from the national dual credit data? And I think generally we are, that there is increased interest in going to college. There is increased interest, of course, in going to UK specifically, that we are having a positive impact on first generation college kids, that we are having positive impacts on students from minority backgrounds. So those are just a couple of select data points of what is a 200-page evaluation. But that's we're proud of it. We think it's working. I mean, we have data to say it's working. I think what is interesting about it, and maybe I'll just sort of conclude here and then Ben, maybe turn it back over to you, is our intention was to try to take the best of the different worlds. High schools are really good at knowing their kids well, working with their parents and communities, being sort of tightly connected, solving problems in real time versus letting kids get behind and fail a class. And so there's a lot of things that high schools are really good at. Intimacy is one of the things that high schools are good at, that colleges are not so good at. But colleges have amazing faculty, legitimate global experts at things that are spending lots of time designing great learning experiences. One of the things we've been consistently impressed by is how strong the UK designed courses are from a deeper learning standpoint. They're not perfect. I don't want to go pretend all of higher ed is doing deeper learning and nobody knew. However, things like projects and inquiry and letting the students sort of lead their own things are things that do live a little bit more in higher education already. And so some of our existing college designed courses had more of a deeper learning focus. Even when you have a class like Dr. Paulin teaches with algebra is hard. If you're in the deeper learning world, all of us know and how hard algebra is to do from a deeper learning standpoint. Even High Tech High struggles with it. But what we heard from the high schools was the UK designed algebra was a lot better designed than what they were seeing from the community college spaces and what is in an algebra textbook that is likely to drive the algebra class from the high school standpoint. And so even if the class is not this inquiry-based deeper learning thing, the university design of these things has a lot more effort, money, intentionality behind it frequently than what we see in a traditional high school or a traditional community college. So what we were trying to do is bring the worlds together and blur, pick and choose. What's the best of these different worlds that we mix together into this new thing? And I think that's the challenge. Like where we started this little sprint journey was this report from Jobs to the Future, which is the big blur that's happening between high school and post-secondary and careers. And that blurring creates amazing design opportunities right now for educational leaders that want to go build a new version of what school could be. If you live in that blur and design in that blur, you can right now go build new versions of what school can be. And we got to do it in different ways, a high school from scratch, a dual credit program from scratch, all of that just living inside of that blur. And
yeah, just to keep sharing. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm turning it back over to you, Ben.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think you actually just encapsulated so well what fascinates me about this space, and it's sort of like the design opportunities and just the opportunities in general that are there, you know, to actually provide or to give access and provide these pathways for so many different types of students. So up next, talking about pathways and opportunities, we have the Spring Academy that's coming. Would you hit the next slide for me, please? Thank you. The What School Could Be Academy, which is the second year in partnership between What School Could Be and the UK Center for Next Generation Leadership. They're excited to offer the second year academy, but this year we'll have a certificate in leading next generation learning. It's going to start in the spring of 2023. So the Academy experience is action-focused and supports all educators and teams to identify and develop and implement strategies to strengthen new or existing school-based deeper learning systems. So the Academy has partnered with recognized experts and leading educational voices to provide content, expertise, resource creation, and guest session delivery. So the Academy will culminate in a participant-driven demonstration of learning. So the outcomes of the Academy, just a couple, are like a better understanding of structural intersections, the key elements of deeper learning models, for participants to identify specific levers for change within their settings and their schools, and to position participants for like a summer strategy development for implementation of something the following year. All right, we look to sort of help provide the how for the mission. So focusing on transformation, creating culture of change towards innovations. They have a robust background in student-centered deeper learning models, and we'll be sharing tons of real-life examples and guidance from others doing the work. And so we look to support teams and educators to identify like their pathway. So identify their unique point of entry. They're going to design a project around this. They're going to implement this project with fidelity and create sort of a gateway to broader implementation and transformative change. So the structure is each course will have like these sprint type formats. So there's going to be 3 sprints in the spring. So each course is 4 synchronous meetings. We're going to have content experts guide each course, sort of like this. I will be working with Justin and others to bring this all together. At the end, we're going to have a final exhibition and critique from educator change agents. So it is team and school-based, but we also are going to have individual educators, which is new this year, joining. We're going to be running it basically time zone agnostic, I guess you could say, or world-friendly times. So much like we learned running the 2 times for this sprint, we're going to run it a morning and an evening session in the US. So that actually works for pretty much every time zone that we found. And like we try to figure out, we kind of joke now because we're like, we'll run it twice and figure out which time works best. And it's literally a 50-50 split every time. So that's pretty exciting. We're excited about that. We're going to be leveraging a ton of the What School Could Be video integration resources. So they have so much cool content. So if you're not already in the What School Could Be community, definitely jump into that. So anything else on the UK side, Justin, that you want to share?
No, that sounds fine. I mean, that's the broader partnership between Next Gen, our center here at the University of Kentucky, and the What School Could Be community is around this academy. And so we're doing the sprints. I have great fun. For me, like the sprint, the whole value for me is just to play and learn and package. But we've been running a Next Generation Leadership Academy that's helped schools in Kentucky see deeper learning for over a decade now. And so that's the broader partnership with What School Could Be, is to bring that expertise globally. But this year we are making a huge deeper learning push in Kentucky right now. Like a $50 million deeper learning push is underway in Kentucky. And so there will be more Kentucky schools in this sprint this year. That's what Ty is doing in the room. She's a deeper learning coach in Northern Kentucky, part of that big effort. And so there'll be more of those kinds of folks versus last year where we tried to stay out of Kentucky. This year, we're going to let the spaces merge together.
And this is for all levels of teachers?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, exactly. This is not exclusively high school and college. This sprint happened to be very college and high school based, but yeah, the overall academy is very much for K-12. In fact, I would say if you're higher ed based, I don't know if it's the right fit, but it's a K-12 thing.
So yeah, I dropped the Academy registration direct link in the chat, as well as the link to the website. You can also find it on the What School Could Be website. So, or just reach out to either of us, and we'll also drop it on the Padlet.
Yeah, exactly. And we're happy to chat it over. And like, I know, Janelle, you've got that network of leaders up there in Minnesota that are working together. Like if you wanted to do some special pricing or something, I'm open
good
to discussing.
Okay.
Well, you can ask Nay lots of questions about our own build if you want, or like you all have busy days. I mean, we running these sprints in the morning because people have busy days and then they get off to go do their other thing, or the evening for Chris and maybe Paul. So like, feel free to hang out, but otherwise, thanks for joining for this sprint on blending this space of early college and high school together.
Yeah, thank you guys. You all just gave Justin and I an hour and a half to nerd out on something we really love. So we really appreciate you just bearing with us. So thank you.